It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Welcome to the program. We have in studio Dr. Jim Phillips is with us. He is a dentist. Dr. Phillips, welcome, sir.
Well, thank you very much.
All right, so this segment is kind of a long time coming. I've been covering a story that started back, I guess this was a post back on October 23rd. There was a dentist who posted this on Facebook, and it kind of went viral. Governor's office breaks with tradition, rejects Arkansas State Dental Association nominee for dental board. Is that
is accurate?
Okay, and it went in an unprecedented move in modern times. The office of governor has rejected the recommendation of the Arkansas State Dental Association for the Arkansas State Board of Dental Examiners. Now, you, Dr. Phillips, are a former president of the Arkansas State Board of Dental Examiners.
That's correct.
So I'm glad that you came on the program. They rejected the recommended person. Tell us how this happened. You were telling me some of the background, and I want you to be as specific as possible.
Okay. The etiology of this actually began 5 or 6 years ago when a local orthodontist, the name of Ben Burris, decided that he wanted to do more than just orthodontics in his practice. He wanted to do general dentistry. At that time, state law, rules, and regulations prohibited a licensed specialist from doing general dentistry. Obviously, I'm an oral and maxillofacial surgeon, and I haven't done a filling since I was in dental school, which is longer than I'd like to remember, 50 years. So you wouldn't want to come into my office and have me do a fill-in or a crown preparation on you, because it would be probably a disaster.
Okay.
So this is the reasoning behind the state board, that if somebody restricts their practice to a single part of dentistry, then that's by law what they need to stay doing. Dr. Burris decided that he wanted to do general dentistry and hygiene specifically in his practice. Well, this didn't sit well with the general dentist here in town, because he would take their patients and do hygiene in his orthodontic office. Sometimes he would do things that they didn't want to do as far as treatment plans. But the bottom line is this became a significant issue. He was brought before the State Board of Dental Examiners, which basically voted against him and censored him for practicing outside of his specialty. Well, apparently this didn't sit very well with Dr. Burris, because he enlisted the help of a senator, Jeremy Hutchinson.
The governor's nephew.
The governor's nephew. I understand that this was a cash transfer to initiate this legislation to what we call Open the Dental Practice Act. In other words, the Dental Practice Act is like any other law in Arkansas. It can be amended, but it takes a legislative initiation of an act to amend this. We guard the Dental Practice Act because we don't want other people coming in and making laws that the dentists have to follow that are non-dentist. The dentists over the last 100 years have pretty well protected the rights of their patients, and that's always been the number one thing, is protecting the rights of the patients. Didn't have anything to do with making money. It didn't have anything to do with who was giving the services. It was just the patient that always came first. We were always concerned, the general dentist, that if the Dental Practice Act was opened by somebody that was a non-dentist, legislation would occur that was not in the favor of the patient, and that's exactly what happened. The law was introduced by Senator Hutchinson. It was passed last year, and it significantly changed the Dental Practice Act that had been in place for 100 years.
Okay, that right there is a lot. So so what? How did that law? What? So you're saying something was changed in the law that affected the governor's power and authority to reject or accept what the recommendation of the Dental Association is?
That's exactly right. The original law, again, the one we're working under, was initiated in 1955, stated that the governor would appoint the members of the state.
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. We lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program today. My name is Paul. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where we are building a liberty machine. If you'd like to contribute to the program today, feel free. You can sound off. Feel free. You can text us or call us. The number 870-275-9799. I actually am on the road. I'm broadcasting from the studios of the great Mountain Talk 97 KJMT. And it's a privilege to be here. Of course, a couple of days ago, I did the program from the road over in Washington County. Now I'm in Baxter County, and I got to tell you, it's just good to get around the state, especially right before the holidays, and you can just feel the Christmas spirit. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Now, of course, this particular hour of the Paul Harrell program, when it does air on the great KJMT, Mountain Talk 97.1, it doesn't air this particular hour until 6 o'clock. So coming up at 5 o'clock, which is strange, 5 o'clock is actually a live broadcast to this great affiliate here of the Paul Harrell program. So our listeners right now who are listening to this, I guess I'm probably in the car, on the way home at this point. But nevertheless, we got a great show lined up for you guys, and we will be talking to at 5 o'clock. We'll be having State Representative Nelda Speaks. She's going to stop by. Also, Senator Scott Flippo as well. So we're really excited about that. Again, the telephone number 870-275-9799. All right. So yesterday I opened the program by talking a little bit about Roy Moore and that loss in Alabama. And, it's not something we normally do. I don't really talk about national issues. You guys know this. We focus on state stuff. We focus on stuff that goes on down at the Marble Palace. Information you need to know that the mainstream media is not telling you about. Well, it was the elephant in the room, I guess pun intended, that, you had to discuss what had happened. And I told you yesterday that the establishment wanted you to think that it was because Roy Moore was anti-establishment and the fact that he was a staunch conservative. Right, and the fact of the matter is that's not true. That's what they were trying to tell you. The fact of the matter is it's because of the allegations. If not for the allegations, he clearly would have won. He won the primary. He would have won the general, no problem. So that the election in Alabama, it's just a recap. Wasn't a rejection of anti-establishment. Okay, it just shows that the establishment would rather have Democrats than conservative platform Republicans. They'd rather have Jeff Flake, John Kasich, Alabama. Senator Richard Shelby, Mitch McConnell. They all wanted a Democrat over Roy Moore. And if it, like I said, if it wasn't for the allegations, he would have won handily. So it's not a rebuke of conservatism. It's not a rebuke of limited government, not a rebuke of, a pro-American immigration policy. It's not a rebuke of any of that. It's just a rebuke of, hey, people didn't know who to believe.
So that's the first thing. But yesterday, on top of all those points, I also mentioned Governor Asa Hutchinson because Asa Hutchinson is establishment. I said, hey, Asa Hutchinson is probably very happy right now. He's probably very happy with the fact that Roy Moore lost last night because, he hopes it's a bellwether, a shift in the tides from the pro-Trump win out of nowhere, populist movement that put Donald Trump in the White House over Hillary Clinton, that Asa Hutchinson is hoping that translates as a bellwether for 2018, and that with the likes of a Jan Morgan, coming up in the ranks, going to challenge him in a primary, that this shows that there's sanity once more, and that they'll try to paint any objectors as extremists or anything like this. And again, it goes with this idea that, the establishment is right and we the people that actually want a responsible, limited constitutional government are wrong. We the people that actually want, that we're extremists because we believe in the Second Amendment, or we're extremists because we believe in lower taxes, and we don't believe in crony capitalism. We don't believe in picking winners and losers. That somehow that's crazy. That's extreme. And the only thing extreme about it is the amount of money that crony capitalists would lose. They would lose an extreme amount of money if policies were actually fair. And we actually, didn't advance this idea that government creates jobs. But anyway, I digress. I said that I think Ace is probably pretty happy. That's what I said yesterday. Lo and behold, buried in this article, about special elections here in Arkansas for Senate District 29, as well as Senate District 16 up in Russellville. And also there's a state rep special election too, but the district escapes me, 83. There it is. So this was an article about a Democrat jumping into the District 29 race and how crazy that is because it's never happened. His name is Stephen McNeely of Jacksonville, filed Wednesday for a vacant legislative seat that has been Republican since reapportionment. McNeely, a workers' compensation attorney, joins Cabot Republicans Jim Coy and Ricky Hill in seeking to fill the remaining term of State Senator Eddie Joe Williams. So that's what's going on. So now you got a Democrat in the race, and that's what this is about. And they say that the Democrat jumped in because of the Alabama victory of Doug Jones over Roy Moore, that this is now giving Democrats courage. And this is, because, I don't know. I guess Democrats in Arkansas would have a shot if they just, can find somebody to make allegations about sexual improprieties. Then every Democrat in the country would have a shot in red states, right? I don't know. But so Asa Hutchinson is quoted in this, and he starts to reflect in this piece in the Democrat Gazette. He starts to reflect on the Roy Moore loss and the Doug Jones win, and he's quoted as saying this: "The lesson from Alabama is that elections are still defined by the candidates, and Roy Moore was a flawed candidate, and so Alabama decided it. I think if you look at the races in Arkansas, it's about local politics. It's about state issues. I know that should be the focus of the candidates running next year," referring to the, himself as well as the special elections. He went on, Asa Hutchinson, "In reference to Alabama, the tipping point was not what was happening nationally, but the tipping point was when Senator Richard Shelby, days before the election, said Alabama can do better than Roy Moore, and that is what I believe shifted the momentum in that race," Hutchinson said. So he says, establishment Shelby says we can do better, and that's what tipped it. Asa Hutchinson goes on. Listen to this. And remember what I said yesterday. It was speculative, but I said I bet Asa's pretty happy that Roy Moore lost. And then Asa says this to the paper. Quote, I certainly feel that Roy Moore was flawed and glad he is not in the U.S. Senate. Our races in Arkansas will be defined differently, and I'm really pleased with both candidates on the Republican side in District 29. So there we go. Asa Hutchinson, very happy that a Democrat won in Alabama. He just steps right in it. It's amazing. It's amazing. It was a
very educated guess. If he hadn't said this in the paper, that he was glad Roy Moore lost, the governor, if he hadn't have said this, I think we would have still gone on and likely believed that, he's happy that this went the way it did. But then he comes out and he says that he's happy about it. I mean, it's just like he's begging to alienate the base of the party. And look, yeah, we talked Roy Moore. Yeah, I mean, he's a flawed candidate, absolutely. But there are a lot of people, 50% of the country, that just flat out doesn't believe some of these allegations out there. Because the mainstream media lies and has lied repeatedly, and there's plenty of evidence of it. I mean, and so it is, he just keeps stepping in it. And I'll tell you what, people are on social media, okay? So you have Jan Morgan, right? And Jan Morgan has this massive social media following, and Governor Asa Hutchinson's very jealous or nervous. I mean, they are really worried about how well a Jan Morgan primary, about how many votes she's going to get and how she will be competitive. They're very worried about this. And to the point where now Asa is trying to compete in social media, and he's got these ads that are going on Facebook. And I didn't take a screenshot. I can't find this ad, but this morning, as soon as I woke up, I got in the car because I had appointments up here in the Mountain Home area. But, I mean, I glanced at my phone before I got in the car, and I just saw that there was this one ad that popped up, and it was like, Asa for governor. And, it wasn't the creepy one, where he constantly, it's like a gif of him, like, constantly, shaking somebody's hand and looking at him in the eyes, with, like, crazy eyes. But it wasn't that. It was just, hey, like my page. It was some sort of platitudes, conservative, carefully crafted language that doesn't really mean. And then it was, invite them to like the page. And I noticed it had I think it had something like 90 comments on it. So I was like, let me read what these comments say. Folks, it was comment after comment of people calling him a phony, calling him a rhino, telling him that there's no way they were going to make the same mistake twice and vote for him a second time. People were talking about how they were going to vote for Jan Morgan, and these were all in the comments of his Facebook post. And I'm telling you, the grassroots and the folks who pay attention on social media and are engaged, and many of them are listeners of this program, are ready to call a spade a spade. And this time, and I'm serious, this time, Asa Hutchinson has a serious problem. And that problem is people know his record. More people do. And he's not going to be able to just get by with advertisements that espouse conservative platitudes. That's not going to fly this time. You're not going to be able to get elected governor by taking a shotgun and, holding it over your shoulder and, looking off at the sunset, with your leg, one leg on a log and, trying to, I'm a hunter or I'm just like you. You're not just like the average Arkansan. And you're not going to be able to get by with that now because people aren't just going to automatically assume, oh, okay, that means he's for the Second Amendment. Because you have a record, and you're actually for more red tape and more barriers to access the Second Amendment rights, okay? And people know that. It's just like you ran these ads on the platitudes of Obamacare and how you oppose Obamacare, and that's why Obama is trying to defeat you. That's almost a verbatim quote from one of your ads back in 2014, that I oppose Obamacare, and that's why President Obama is trying to defeat me. Well, guess what? You don't oppose Obamacare, okay? You spoke out on MSNBC and CNN repeatedly about the repeal effort this last year, and before that, you continued Obamacare Medicaid expansion with Arkansas Works, and you just thought we were stupid enough, the people, that we were going to go along with it and think that it was okay just because you renamed the program from the private option to Arkansas Works. So people know this now, and so if Asa Hutchinson wants to have a chance, he's not going to be able to do it by taking the populist conservative position because he has contradicted many of the big issues that we care about. He's going to have to come up with something else. The Democrat candidate coming out this week, finally announcing Mr. Henderson, and the Democrat candidate giving Asa credit for what he did with Obamacare, Arkansas Works. So they have the same position. And that's what's so that's what's so troubling about this. They're taking. See, Asa wants to believe that Asa's going to run by taking
by attempting to take the conservative position. I mean, that's what's so frustrating, right? He may have done and actually worked against everything we care about for limited government, real tax reform, not getting spending under control, no more entitlements, fiscal responsibility, whatever you want to call it, the Second Amendment. He's going to take the position of he's the most conservative person when it comes to these things, because the minute he says, well, I believe in conservatism or I believe in limited government within reason, okay, and that would be the honest thing to do. The honest thing to do would be like, I think we just got to move a lot slower with tax reform. We just didn't have the money because I spent too much of it and we had other priorities. Or, I'm a Republican, but I'm really a moderate, and I do fit in the mold of, I agree with Mitch McConnell. I agree with those guys more than I would agree with Ted Cruz, or more than I would agree with a Rand Paul. I would agree with a Mitch McConnell. That's who Asa is, and that's how he should run. If you want to really be honest about it and run an honest campaign, that's how you should run. You should honestly say that if you get in a primary with Jan Morgan, that Asa, honestly, you should say publicly that one of your tactics is going to be able to get Democrats to come and vote in the Republican primary and vote for you. That would be the honest thing to do. And then we can actually have an accurate snapshot of what the people of Arkansas want, who they want the leaders to really be in this state. But you're not going to run a campaign like that. You're going to take the issues of your opposition and claim that you have a great conservative record and that you are just like the person challenging you. For the most part, that's what you're going to do. And that's a deception. And in many cases, it's a deception by omission. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program. Merry Christmas to you. I'm broadcasting live from KJMT Studios, Mountain Home, Arkansas, Mountain Talk 97. Really glad that they opened their doors up, let me do the show from here. Folks, Merry Christmas. We got to take a break. The Liberty Machine rolls on next.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell program and Conduit Media.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas.
In a world full of constituents with social media accounts, bloggers just looking to increase their page views, and a talk radio host who generally is just the worst, how are Little Rock's elite supposed to conduct business with such a lack of privacy? Introducing the 1835 Club, older and more refined than other clubs that claim discretion. The 1835 Club is for seasoned political veterans that want to conduct the highest form of aristocratic business with the public's money. Are you a schemer? Do you someday want a guaranteed flow of taxpayer money to support your business? Is it your dream to see the .gov domain at the end of your business website? Don't listen to the imitators. The 1835 Club is the place where corrupt politicians and businessmen hatch their next crony schemes. At the 1835 Club, we make lobbying safe and legal. Ethics. Why, of course. All business is done in an ethical manner. Just look for the sign above the door that reads, Loophole. Are you tired of the Capitol Police restricting your access to the roof after a perfectly good night of drinking? The 1835 Club has libations and a perfectly good roof. Other crony clubs that promise discretion try to lure you in by advertising bars made out of aeroplanes. Well, at the 1835 Club, instead of an airplane fuselage, we've got a space shuttle. No, not a bar. We've got an actual space shuttle that makes a daily run to the moon so members of the 1835 Club can have some real privacy away from the bloggers and taxpayers. Are you an Arkansas aristocrat? Do you want to be? It's the 1835 Club, and we work tirelessly to make sure the good old boy system remains alive and well. Join today.
Disclaimer. The 1835 Club reserves the right to deny membership to anyone who has principles. Any talk of the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution must be done in jest or, at the very least, with a condescending tone. And finally, the 1835 Club will be given a 25% commission of any agreements made between politicians and the business community.
PHP Parody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us. I'm broadcasting live out of the great Mountain Talk studios of KJMT 97, Mountain Talk 97. Really excited that you're listening. Of course, if you're listening to this hour on Mountain Talk, you're actually listening on delay, but I'll see you guys live. Well, I saw you guys live at 5. And we love doing the live show, the live portion of the show for this great affiliate. So John Brumman, okay, liberal Democrat columnist John Brumman, who normally has nothing but glowing things to say about Governor Asa Hutchinson, normally praises him, defends him, because I think John Brumman knows what he's got. He's got basically a liberal progressive governor who just calls himself a Republican and is stopping conservative policy, but is, in many cases, just implementing, continuing to move Arkansas in the direction that he wants to go. Okay. At the end of his piece, talking about the Democrat candidate, Mr. Henderson, says that Henderson's going to strain traditional alliances, and that this Democrat Henderson, who's going to run for governor, he says, quote, he'll force Asa Hutchinson to study for debates. I think that's interesting. I think that's pretty fascinating. John Brumman is saying that if Asa and Henderson debate, that Mr. Henderson here will force Asa to study for a debate. I just got to think here, Jan Morgan, wonder if there'll be a debate between Jan Morgan and Asa Hutchinson. And if you think he's going to have to study to talk to a Democrat, he won't have to study to talk to a Democrat. They speak the same language. Asa Hutchinson dealt with Mike Ross handily. You want to know why? Because there really wasn't that much difference between the two of them. There really wasn't much difference between Mike Ross. I was thinking about this the other day, and I know we're up against a hard break, but I remember back when Mike Ross said when he was running as a Democrat, he was just like, Mike Beebe's done a great job. Mike Beebe's awesome. Mike Beebe can't forget about Mike Beebe, and I'm just going to keep doing Mike Beebe stuff. And so I cut that into a montage, and I played that everywhere. I played that all over the place. Mike Beebe this, Mike Beebe that, and just tried to highlight there wasn't going to be any difference. Little did I know there's still very little difference between Mike Beebe and Asa Hutchinson. And so I totally disagree with John Brumman. Asa Hutchinson's not going to have to study for debates when it comes time, or if it comes time to debate a Democrat. He will have to study if he ever agrees to debate Jan Morgan. That will be, it's going to be like the night before finals, cramming for the exam. We're up against the hard break. Back in just a moment.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this. And I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Board of Dental Examiners on advise and consent of the separate districts. As for instance, we vetted Lauren Harmon, who is a wonderful general dentist here, to be our representative to the state board this term. The terms are 5 years. She actually took time out of our practice to went and sit in on some of the state board meetings to prepare herself, and then we got the notice that she was not going to serve. So the new law that was sponsored by Senator Jeremy Hutchinson reversed the way the assignments were made, where the governor on his own can just decide without the advice and consent of the district.
Okay, so the next question then would be, we're talking, by the way, with Dr. Jim Phillips, past president of the Arkansas State Board of Dental Examiners. The next question would be, then why would the governor, I understand now he has the power because of legislative maneuvering, but why would he reject it? Why would he go with somebody, according to this, instead the governor's office appointed Dr. Richard L. Smith of North Little Rock, a non-member of the ASDA and current employee of Monarch Dental. According to records, Dr. Smith has been found by the ASDA to be in violation of the Practice Act on 3 occasions in the early 1990s, the first being overprescribing of narcotics. Why would Governor Hutchinson go with that guy instead of who you guys recommended?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, and I actually can answer that. The organization to which Dr. Burris was attached is called the Association for Dental Support Organization, and it is actually a national organization lobbying for corporate dentistry. And Dr. Burris was a member of this, and there are many corporate dental outlets, if you want to call them, here in Arkansas, and they wanted basically a seat at the table. They wanted to have somebody on the State Board of Dental Examiners that could sway the laws toward the practice of corporate dentistry. So this was the chance to get somebody on there. I'm not sure, well, I am sure that Dr. Smith was not well vetted. I don't know how his name came up.
All right, folks, welcome back to the program. Thanks so much for being with us today, and I'm glad I'm getting to talk to you. Feel free to send me a text, 870-275-9799. All right, we got some farmers out there. We got farmers that listen to us every single day. Matter of fact, this program was instrumental in stopping Asa Hutchinson taking over the plant board. You can go look that video up on YouTube about the ACE's plant board power grab. This was something that happened earlier in the year. where he had some legislation that none other than Dan Douglas. Dan Douglas. I wear Wrangler blue jeans, all right? Why? Because they're cheap. And, they make my booty look good. All right. So Dan Douglas, State Representative Dan Douglas, he tries to run this power grab bill to redo the plant board, makes every farmer in the state pretty much furious. I mean, they're just like, can't believe you're doing this, trying to take our power away. Well, thankfully, this video, I interviewed Mr. Wendell Stratton, who is in the agricultural industry down in Stuttgart. Okay, so I interviewed him. He came on the program, and he told us what was going on. And then that video, we packaged up. It got sent out to everybody. That combined, I believe, with the Delta Farm Press. Anyway, it basically killed the bill. There was so much opposition to it. It killed the bill, and it ruined ACE's plans. We're trying to take over the farmers. But they're really upset, okay? They're really upset. It's the same thing when we talked about Dr. Phillips yesterday with the dental board. And they're just these massive amounts of constituencies, or massive numbers in these individual constituencies of people just really getting upset with ACE. But dicamba, okay? Dicamba. The plant board has proposed a ban on dicamba for a finite amount of time, right? And it was referred to the legislative committee, the Arkansas Legislative Council, right? It made the Andrew DeMello, the Associated Press, was republished the Washington Times. Arkansas lawmakers ask panel to reconsider dicamba ban. That's one headline. You can go over to the Stephen Steed, and it talks about Senator Bill Sample. Now, remember Senator Bill Sample? He's the guy a couple weeks ago really upset me when we found out that the Bureau of Legislative Research had retained an attorney for legal services to comply with FBI record requests, and it was the same attorney who was representing a Medicaid company and a Medicaid owner who's under investigation by the FBI, and that huge conflict of interest. Remember all that? Bill Sample was the one that said, well, as long as the Bureau, I don't see any conflict. As long as the Bureau of Legislative Research is happy, I'm happy. Yeah, that's the same Bill Sample. So Bill Sample, when it comes to this dicamba issue, he got sick. Apparently he had bronchitis. Stephen Steed writes that illness prompted State Senator Bill Sample to make a motion Tuesday to reject proposed restrictions on a herbicide before farmers and others attending a committee hearing in Little Rock had a chance to testify. So he just canceled the whole hearing because he was sick. That happened. Hang on one second. Yeah, so when that happened, hang on one second. I'm sorry. I'm told that we're having a few problems, maybe some technical difficulties that just happened. Because I know about this because my phone just absolutely, I guess it just blew up with people telling me that we've got some problems. So let's tell you what. I don't want you to miss any of this because it's really good content. So let's take a break. Let's take a preemptive break on this, and we're going to figure out what our issues are. I'll be back in just a moment.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
Bob Maloney here from ASA News, The Parrot. Breaking news from the Capitol in Little Rock. Over now to our new on-site reporter, Susan Shenanigans. Susan?
Thanks, Bob. The governor has just announced that a Blue Ribbon Task Force is to be formed.
Today, I'm asking your support for a Blue Ribbon Legislative Task Force to be created and directed to recommend further reform.
Now we go live to the chamber to listen in for more information on the task force.
I hereby call this session into order. First on the agenda for today is the formation of the Blue Ribbon Task Force. Is there anyone who would like to give their thoughts on the task force?
Yes, as someone who is deeply conservative, why is the governor choosing the color blue for this task force? Sounds like he's really a Democrat loyalist. Why not a red ribbon to prove he's a true conservative?
Well, I represent Walmart, and we agree with the color of the task force ribbon. The color blue is best consistent with the Walmart brand.
I object to this choice. Blue is the wrong color ribbon for this task force.
Well, who are you?
I am Mr. P.C. Wrights, and I represent Target, and we want the ribbon to be red, not blue.
Hold it right there. This seems like a tough decision. Why not ask the governor to call a special session at a later date for an important decision as this?
I think this is something worth talking about. I motion that we decide the color of the ribbon today.
I second it. Fine. We can decide it now. Does anyone have any other suggestions for the color of the ribbon?
I think the color should be white.
Whoa. Hold on. Definitely not white.
I agree with Mr. P.C. Wrights. Maybe we should choose green for the farmers.
You like the color green because you are a farmer. I think it should be purple, so we can display how Arkansas is an extremely moderate state.
Why are we even discussing this? Shouldn't we be talking about tax reform instead of wasting time with this?
Well, the people have spoken. They believe this is worth talking about, so we are deciding this now.
Excuse me, sir, but shouldn't the color of the ribbon be rainbow to include all types of people?
Please, silence your phones.
I just received a call from Walmart HQ, and they agree with, what was your name again? My name is Fabulous. They agree with Fabulous that the color should be rainbow.
Target concurs with the decision of it being rainbow-colored ribbon.
Is there a motion to make the ribbon rainbow-colored?
I motion to make the color rainbow.
I second the motion. The motion carries because I said so.
The committee will now vote and not be on record to keep the people in the dark. Back to you, Bob.
Thank you, Susan. And thank you for listening to ASA News, The Parrot. Next up, there are reports of a gorilla on top of the Capitol Dome demanding massive sums of taxpayer cash. His name? Medicaid expansion.
PHP Parody.
need conservative legislation killed?
Or do you need policies enacted that ensure government growth?
Then you need to get
Nephewed. Hi, I'm nephew number 1 of uncle, nephew, and nephew, attorneys at law. I'm not a lawyer, but I am a senator.
And I'm nephew number 2, and I am a lawyer and also a senator.
Are you the victim of a recent accident in which the voters in your community mistakenly elected a limited government conservative who is now actually implementing the ideas he or she campaigned on?
That's right, nephew number 1. Don't be a victim of democratic elections any longer. At Uncle, Nephew, and Nephew, we are committed to killing limited government legislation and promoting bills that increase the size of government by using any tool at our disposal.
Because sometimes the truth of the matter is, principles get in the way of pragmatism.
Just listen to some of our great testimonials.
Ever since I've been using the nephews, all my special interests have been served. As long as you make sure your contract says lobbying services are prohibited, then the legal services of uncle, nephew, and nephew are legal. Trust me, put the nephews on them.
It came out of nowhere. I was blindsided last election cycle when my well-funded and paid-for politician lost to some grassroots limited government voters. But then I hired the nephews, and they killed all the conservative policies the voters wanted. I got nephewed.
I got nephewed too, and so can you.
Uncle, nephew, and nephew will accept compensation via campaign contributions.
Put the nephews on them.
PHP Parody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Sorry, we did have a few technical difficulties. We're working to remedy those. I can't promise that we won't have any more, but we shouldn't. I mean, generally, the technology we use to get the show to you guys is pretty reliable, but sometimes, sometimes there's a fail rate. So what can we say about it? Okay, so let's pick up where we were. We were talking about dicamba, and so the state plant board, which narrowly survived Governor Asa Hutchinson's attempt to take over the plant board. And put them under his control, which really upset a lot of farmers in this state. What essentially the plant board has now been saying, hey, we want a ban on dicamba. They've said it, they've listened to a bunch, and they said we want a ban, so it goes before the Arkansas Legislative Council. Now, you have to understand something here. There's a ton of money involved in this. This is Monsanto. This is a giant corporation. This is a giant corporation that I'm sure Asa Hutchinson is a huge fan of because they're a giant corporation and they can give a lot of money to him via campaign donations, which is probably why he tried to take over the plant board. The reason he wanted to take over the plant board is to probably prevent them from doing exactly what they're trying to do, which would essentially diminish real problems that real farmers are having with drift. And it's your freedom ends where the other guy's begins. And so this is a huge problem. Thomas Jefferson said, if it neither picks my pocket nor breaks my leg, I don't care. You have the freedom to do it. Well, guess what? This is picking your pocket, or this is causing harm in many cases. And it may work great other places, but maybe not in Arkansas. Maybe we have a humidity issue. Maybe the technology that Monsanto's selling that's causing issues. Some people say it's user error, but I personally don't believe that farmers are morons. Okay? So this is the issue. The plant board has said we want to ban. We want to have a finite amount of time. We want to get our heads around this, figure out another solution. But we got to stop the damage. All right. So it goes for the Legislative Council on Tuesday, and Senator Bill Sample makes a motion to reject the proposed restrictions, and then leaves. It passes, and then he leaves because he says he's sick, and he compared the Arkansas legislature to a daycare. Not in terms of maturity, although I would probably side better with that concept or description. He compared the Arkansas legislature to a daycare because of how many germs are floating around, and so that's why he was sick and had to leave. So what happened today? Well, today it goes before the full Arkansas Legislative Council, and I am told that the Legislative Council sent it back to the plant board. So they didn't approve it. They sent it back to the plant board, and they basically recommended that the plant board would take different actions, or give them the options to take different actions. The two options that they're suggesting is that they change the date, or they change the finite amount of time that they're recommending the ban be put in place. Some people say it's arbitrary, and that they're going to have the same problem when the ban runs out. Or maybe consider doing north-south dividing lines and banning dicamba based on the north-south dividing lines. Some sort of north-south metric where it's legal here to use dicamba, but it's illegal here to use dicamba. And the plant board, from what I'm told, could very easily just completely ignore the, and just vote on it again and send it back to the Arkansas Legislative Council. I know this is inside baseball, but hear me. When it goes back to the Arkansas Legislative Council, there will be no more public comment. I mean, this is just going to be, it's back before the council, and they're going to either approve or not approve of it. And I got to tell you, folks, I'm telling you, Monsanto is involved here. That cannot be lost on any of this. Any analysis has got to, you've got to imagine that Monsanto, obviously they want to look out for their interests. They want to look out for the investment that they made in dicamba and this new technology that's supposed to be good or lay the right way. Well, it's not working, and they're trying to ban it, all right? So we'll see what happens. But I think it's pretty clear now why the governor wanted to take the plant board over, and he tried to use Dan Douglas, who wears Wrangler blue jeans, to do it. I wear Wrangler blue jeans, all right? Why? Because they're cheap. They're cheap, cheap, cheap. In 1974, I brought a Doobie Brothers album for the song Blackwater on. Y'all remember that? Telephone number to call to text us is 870-275-9799. I have way too much fun doing that impression, by the way. It's fun. It's too fun. And it comes and goes, but some days it's just very accurate. And all right, so speaking of dicamba, this was posted, the Blytheville Courier News. Graydon Williams, headline, Leachville dicamba murder trial begins. Now let's just stop for a second. We've done this before. It's not as if Monsanto can pretend that this is not. Now, I know Monsanto has gone to a judge. They're trying to stop the plant board's ban on dicamba for a finite amount of time. Monsanto cannot act like there's not a real problem here. People don't tend to murder other people for no reason at all. Now, some people are just sickos, but, in crimes of passion, people don't tend to murder other people, and just make up the reason why. When you can determine a clear motive, and in this case, we have a Mississippi County situation where there was a confrontation over dicamba drift and what it did to one farmer's crops, and the other guy empties his magazine and kills him over it, over the conflict, over the accusation that dicamba drift happened. So the idea that Monsanto is just going to say, well, I don't understand why they're going to ban this product is ridiculous. It's clearly an issue because people are murdering other people over the issue. Okay? Can we all agree that there's an issue? And for the Arkansas Legislative Council to not think that a dicamba ban is appropriate. And look, I know there's probably other issues, but I think a temporary ban is perfectly fine. I know a lot of farmers think it's fine until we can figure out what's going on here, okay? If people want to make the case, we just got to stop the damage. I mean, agriculture, we got to stop the damage, okay? So let's quit with the damage, and, that's going to hurt our economy and everything else, and let's actually attempt to deal with this. So a temporary ban on dicamba, I don't see any problem with it. And we can, if people want to put forth their arguments, and we have a more developed discussion. If they want to claim that it's user error, and a lot of farmers are just applying it wrong because they don't know how to do their own jobs, which I don't agree with, but let more people make that case. If Monsanto wants to make a case that it's user error, well, let them do it, or let them be responsible when the drift happens. Maybe that's what you want to do. But the bottom line is, people, we have a case where someone was murdered over alleged dicamba drift. And it happens to be State Senator David Wallace's kin. Graydon Williams, again, the Blytheville Courier-News, a Mississippi County jury has been selected and has begun hearing testimony at the Blytheville Courthouse in the first-degree murder trial of 27-year-old Alan Curtis Jones of Arbord, Missouri. Jones has been charged in the shooting death of 55-year-old Michael Wallace of Monette. Allegedly, their argument was over pesticide drift. Circuit Judge Cindy Thayer is presiding over the trial and has been a circuit judge for this area for nearly 12 years, writes Graydon Williams. The prosecution is being handled by Deputy Prosecutors Curtis Walker Jr. and Gina Knight. Jones is being defended by defense attorneys Jim Harris, Wendell Hoskins, and Zach Morrison. On the first day of the trial, after Thayer and attorneys questioned 18 potential jurors, the final 12-member pool was selected and were 2 additional alternate jurors. Those 2 will be allowed to cast a vote if they are called upon to fill the slot of one of the 12 original jurors. Okay, we know how the trial works. So, anyway, it's this thing's going to go forward. Murder trial begins. This was written back on December the 12th. And it's just I saw this and I thought to myself, how in the world can Monsanto just pretend like this is not an issue, that the plant board is acting in an unreasonable manner? I mean, does anyone disagree with me? I mean, feel free to disagree with me, okay? That's fine. But I just don't see how you can, I guess. I would love for somebody to tell me where I'm wrong, what I'm not seeing. Again, with any kind of industry like this, trying to regulate an industry, there's always, more than meets the eye. But I just think there's a strong case to be made that if people are being murdered because of alleged dicamba drift, you can't really say, if you're Monsanto, that your product is not causing an issue, that it's just Arkansas is overreacting. And I know other states are using it, but guess what? Other states aren't Arkansas. And people around here take agriculture of all kinds very seriously, especially row crops. All right, so telephone number, I need you to call us or text us, 870-275-9799. You can sound off on Facebook. When we come back in the top of the next hour, we'll be talking with the State Representative Nelda Speaks. Really excited to hear her. And also Senator Scott Flippo just walked in as well, so it's great. I'm broadcasting, by the way, from the great KJMT Mountain Talk 97.1 studios. Glad that they had me here doing a remote broadcast. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. We're going to get their takes on what Christmas means to them when we come back here in just a moment.
Glenn, Sean, and Paul. This is Jonesboro's 1013 FM News Talk, KBTM.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
That the governor would appoint the members of the State Board of Dental Examiners on advice and consent of the separate districts. For instance, we vetted Lauren Harmon, who is a wonderful general dentist here, to be our representative to the State Board this term. The terms are 5 years. She actually took time out of our practice to went and sit in on some of the State Board meetings to prepare herself, and then we got the notice that she was not going to serve. So the new law that was sponsored by Senator Jeremy Hutchinson reversed the way the assignments were made, where the governor on his own can just decide without the advice and consent of the district.
Okay, so the next question then would be, we're talking, by the way, with Dr. Jim Phillips, past president of the Arkansas State Board of Dental Examiners. The next question would be then, why would the governor, I understand now he has the power because of legislative maneuvering, but why would he reject it? Why would he go with somebody, according to this, instead the governor's office appointed Dr. Richard L. Smith of North Little Rock, a non-member of the ASDA and current employee of Monarch Dental. According to records, Dr. Smith has been found by the ASDA to be in violation of the Practice Act on 3 occasions in the early 1990s, the first being overprescribing of narcotics. Why would Governor Hutchinson go with that guy instead of who you guys recommended?
Well, that's the $64,000 question, and I actually can answer that. The organization to which Dr. Burris was attached is called the Association for Dental Support Organization, and it is actually a national organization lobbying for corporate dentistry. And Dr. Burris was a member of this, and there are many corporate dental outlets, if you want to call them, here in Arkansas, and they wanted basically a seat at the table. They wanted to have somebody on the State Board of Dental Examiners that could sway the laws toward the practice of corporate dentistry. So this was the chance to get somebody on there. I'm not sure, well, I am sure that Dr. Smith was not well vetted. I don't know how his name came up, but obviously,
he wasn't vetted.
They didn't do a very good job of deciding who was going to represent the Association of Dental Support Organizations on the board. There's probably quite a few of really competent dentists that belong to corporate dentistry in Arkansas, and unfortunately, Dr. Smith, who has a fairly significant record of having his license suspended 3 times, was just a poor choice.
Yeah.
Given what's going on in the world today, everybody is saying, well, that happened in the early 90s and he's changed, and we've seen a whole bunch of politicians fall lately because of things that happened 30 years ago. I'm not sure that personally I think that makes a whole lot of difference, that having your license suspended for narcotics issues doesn't sit well with most of the general dentists.
Yeah, I would agree. So it seems to me that there's a divide in the dental community. You have the corporate side of things, and then you have maybe just sole ownership or maybe limited partnership types of practices. And so how does, I guess this is kind of a jockeying of who's going to get representation. And this is the corporate, kind of set up shop by night operations that are now going to have representation when in the past they didn't. So the question is, especially considering he was vetted so poorly. Let me just be honest, Dr. Phillips. I'm told that in many of these instances, you sit down with the governor's people, and you get informed that, hey, well, we're open for donations. And so the question is was this decision made because of campaign contributions or something like that?
Well, I think there's absolutely no doubt that there was, and I can't.
The maintenance of a free society is a very difficult and complicated thing, and it requires a self-denying ordinance of the most extreme kind. It requires a willingness to put up with temporary evils on the basis of the subtle and sophisticated understanding that if you step in to do something about them, you not only may make them worse, but you will spread your tentacles and get bad results elsewhere.
I think it's time we ask ourselves if we still know the freedoms that were intended for us by the Founding Fathers. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
You're listening to the Paul Harrell Program, brought to you by Conduit Media Group.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the program. Thanks so much for being with us. This is hour number 2. My name is Paul, and I am thrilled and pleased to be broadcasting from the great studios of KJMT Mountain Talk 97 in Mountain Home. It's great to be back in Baxter County. As I mentioned last hour, I was in Washington County a couple of days ago, now making the rounds. And it's just good to get, the Christmas spirit from different areas of the state. And so welcome. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality. We're working to build a liberty machine. We need your help to do it. You can text us at 870-275-9799. Joining me now on the program, we've got State Representative Nelda Speaks is in studio here. Nelda, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Paul. It's always great to be on your program.
Absolutely, and it's great that I'm in your neck of the woods. Instead of normally we're kind of at a neutral ground, we're down at the Capitol or something.
Right.
So let's start with breaking news. Let's go ahead and get it out there.
Okay.
You've got a big announcement that you want to make, and you want to do it right here on the program.
I sure do. I am running again. I'm excited and looking forward. I am so thankful to have had the privilege to serve these citizens here in Baxter County, and looking forward to another term, and would appreciate all of their votes. And I am a conservative person. I'll still be conservative down there, and thankful to get to serve.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, congratulations on the announcement.
Yes,
I think that's great that you're going to run again, because you are a conservative, and I say this every time, but I'm going to say it again. You're always a happy warrior. You're you know how to disagree without being disagreeable, and I know that goes a long way down there. I don't know how to do that so much, but you know how to do that, and that's great. And you know how to make a stand when you need to, and that's
you
good.
bet. You show me where I'm wrong, and it's something that I can see that maybe I did judge it wrong, but I study the issues, I read the bills, and I ask questions. I read that. That's the right way to go, and be conservative in your issues. Then that's I'll stick with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this. Because I've been asking a lot of people this. Well, I asked a young conservative in our Young Conservative something that we do, I guess last week, about the divide that is apparent in the Republican Party. So I'm curious, is there a divide in the Republican Party? Is it kind of like you hear about at the national level? You have more establishment, more conservatives. How do you see that shaking out here in Arkansas?
I'm in Little Rock, and I go to our Republican meetings. We just had one, I think it was 2 weeks,
Yeah.
this coming Saturday. And I do not see a division in our group. There is more conservative than others. Some are a little more conservative than others. But I have not picked up on anything. I think we're a little different than Washington, D.C., and there is a big division going on up there, which I wish they'd get their act together, things that they promised, and do what they said they would do.
I think a lot of people
and
feel that way.
that's where all of this is coming from. But I don't see that in the state of Arkansas.
Well, you mentioned that meeting there, and out of that meeting, the County Chairman's Association, they did produce a memo, or I guess a resolution that just reaffirmed local committees' right to have whoever they want to speak there. And they said, but they need to support the Republican Party platform. And so, do you think that maybe is maybe evidence that there's maybe outside forces trying to dictate what goes on at the local level?
I think it's low. I think it is some problems there, but as a whole, I think Republicans will take a stand. Not all of them, but your committees will take a stand. And the way I look at it, we are Republicans. Whoever's running on the Republican ticket, we need to listen to them, and it's nothing but right. We say we open our arms to them, and let's let them come in and make their pitch, and then the voters will decide.
And I love that attitude. That's the attitude. It's
yes.
Hey, yeah, you run as a Republican, so let's hear your ideas, and then. And people can decide themselves what maybe is different about this particular, because every person is different.
That's true.
So that's just common sense. But then within the party, there are some, like you said, that are maybe more conservative than others, and maybe that's depending on the candidate. We saw what happened in Alabama. You know what I'm saying. So just let the people decide, and let's not be afraid of a healthy debate. That's what I want.
Right. And we as Republicans have always said we open our arms, and we think that competition's great. But it's great unless it's you.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing today, that is the problem. We don't want competition.
Yeah.
But it's an American. We are American citizens most of all, and we live in a free country. Let's live like that.
I agree. We're talking with State Representative Nelda Speaks. She has just announced here on the program that she is seeking re-election to her district. What's this district?
District 100.
District 100. I should remember that. And that is just all in Baxter County, right?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's probably the upper part of Baxter County.
Great. Well, I'm glad that you've come on here, and I know you guys are leaving tomorrow morning for Christmas to go be with family, right?
Yes, just for a couple of days. We won't be gone very long.
Okay. So we've been doing these little short segments, I guess, the last 2 weeks, and we ask legislators or Arkansas politicos what Christmas means to them, and so then we're going to take that audio of each one of them, and we're going to kind of put it all together, because it's been really rewarding for me just to hear different people's answers. So, State Representative Nelda Speaks. What does Christmas mean to you?
Of course, we look at it a lot of times. It's the gifts, and I was thinking about the gifts the other day, and the reason why we do the gifts is because when Jesus was born, they brought him gifts, but most of all, we need to remember what that really stands for. That it is Christ's birthday, and not leave him out of our Christmas. It's wonderful for families to get together and enjoy that time. It's a real renewing time a lot of times, and wonderful times to get to be with your family. But we need to remember what Christmas really means to us, because if it wasn't for our Savior, we wouldn't even have our salvation.
Yeah, we'd have no hope.
That's right.
Yeah. I like that. That's very good. State Representative Nelda Speaks. I appreciate you coming on the program.
thank you so much, and I appreciate you, Paul.
All right.
I appreciate the stand that you take and your voice out here in the community. We appreciate that.
All righty. State Representative Nelda Speaks, everybody. Folks, we're going to take a break, and we're going to be back, and we got Senator Scott Flippo in the building, so don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media.
If you're like me, you believe that small business is the heart of Arkansas's economic engine, and it should be viewed that way by the politicians in Little Rock. Conduit for Commerce also believes, like you and I believe, policies that achieve less regulation and lower taxation help small business in Arkansas thrive. Other policies like small, constitutionally consistent government and reducing citizen dependency on government keeps it from growing and expanding its influence on our daily lives. Conduit for Commerce works every day to educate the general public and legislators on these important priorities in the name of Arkansas small business. By the way, contributions to Conduit for Commerce are tax deductible. Log on now to conduitforcommerce.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforcommerce.org. Go there now and learn the facts on protecting small business in Arkansas. iTex is your first choice for cost-effective IT services. Protecting your business means protecting your data. Are you tired of unpredictable and expensive spikes in IT spending? Using iTex will prevent downtime and loss of employee productivity and do it all with an affordable, predictable budget. iTex is the premier managed service provider for small and medium businesses. They help their clients put IT to work to earn your business more money, and you should contact them today for a free consultation. 870-336-9778. That's 870-336-9778 or itexusa.com.
This is Mother Government. I come to the people of Arkansas with an important announcement. In disloyal circles, some are questioning the scope and size of government and telling the people government programs should not waste the labors of the people under the guise of taking care of them. This is a thought I must correct. People of Arkansas, you should not believe everything you hear unless it comes from a government source. Let me, Mother Government, set the record straight. You know you can trust me. After all, would your own mother lie to you? You should know the brand new, terrific program known as Arkansas Works has nothing to do with the old, bad program known as the Obamacare private option. Arkansas Works is good. People who say otherwise are bad and are seeking to undermine my collective vision for progress. If these groups continue in their criticism, then you should question their party loyalty. Tell them to quit focusing on this single issue. And then remind them Mother Government says the future of Arkansas depends on this single issue. In my next address, I will discuss the need to prepare your fellow citizens for the next round of revenue gathering that will be needed to continue funding my motherly goals. This message was brought to you by our partner, Aristocrats, serving Arkansas. Thank you for listening, and remember, from cradle to grave.
PHP Parody.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the program. Broadcasting from the great KJMT Mountain Talk 97 studios in Baxter County, in Mountain Home, Arkansas. We just talked to State Representative Nelda Speaks, and she just told us that she's running for re-election. And now we're talking with Senator Scott Flippo. He's a senator around here. Scott, welcome back, sir.
Paul, thank you, and welcome to Mountain Home. We're happy to have you.
Absolutely. It's good to be back. It always is good to be here. Let's see. What am I looking for? Yeah, I'm looking for that right there. All right. So, first of all, Senator Scott Flippo, normally we always talk about big picture conservatism, and I love it. That segment's been going really well, by the way.
I love it. And so, I'm a big picture guy, results oriented, and I mean, there's some big picture conservative issues. I mean, what about Alabama?
This is a big deal, or it's a big. I could analyze it forever. I was just talking about how the establishment, which you are not, would have you believe that this is maybe because Roy Moore was too conservative, but I think he would have won absent these allegations. Like I think he would have won handily.
Yeah, I would absolutely agree with that. I think no doubt in my mind, at least, that these allegations, were probably the major reason for his loss. And I can't imagine that, even though his previous races for the Supreme Court there, I think were fairly close. But Alabama's just as red as you can get, and I think the Democrats did a good job of turning out their voters in some of the urban areas that they have in Alabama. And what was the final? It was about 20,000 votes was the difference, and then there were several write-ins. And I'll tell you what I think what hurt Roy Moore was that first interview that he did with Sean Hannity.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't tell you. Somebody comes out with some allegations like that, and you say something like, "Well, generally speaking, that doesn't sound like something I would do." Man, that's not much of a full-throated denial right there. And I don't think that he ever really came back from that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And so naturally, we got a razor-thin margin there at the federal level. And if you've got Senator Flake and Senator McCain, Senator Corker, and some people that you can't ever just count on having their vote.
Yeah.
And, so to lose that seat in the short term, it hurts. Now, looking long term, I think that no doubt the Democrats, if Roy Moore would have won, they would have loved it. Publicly, they would have been out there, for political purposes, they would have loved it. Because what they were going to do is try to make every single person, every Republican, be the party of pedophiles. I mean, that was the message that they were going to try to deliver. And, Paul, to me, and when I visit with my constituents, I like to, I bring this up from time to time. I don't really believe that, I don't think that Donald Trump's the savior of the Republican Party. I never believed that Ronald Reagan was. I believe that people are in the platform, the values, the things, the ideals of what the Republican Party stands for. It's not about an individual or personality. It's about the platform.
Exactly.
And, if Hillary Clinton could have been Mother Teresa reincarnated, you could have done away with Benghazi emails and all the other horrible things she's done, and I still would not have supported her. You know why? Because I do not subscribe to liberal ideology. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And so to me, I think Republicans are always going to do best when we focus on the issues and, why do conservative values and principles work? And why don't they just work for conservatives but for people that aren't? Yeah. I was talking to some people in the lobby. My mom lived in Berkeley, California for about 14 years. About as far away from a conservative bastion as what you can get.
Yeah, they just tried to burn. They burned Berkeley down almost because of that. Was it? Who was somebody controversial was speaking? Ben Shapiro or somebody?
Oh, I mean, listen. Anybody that is a millimeter right of center, is controversial, and they will burn the place down. My mom, she and I will have some disagreements, and say, Mom, I believe in these things and this platform. Not because it just benefits me, because I think it benefits you as well. It's like, being a parent with a child, and I said, you make decisions for your kids because you think, you know what's in their best interests. It's the same thing for me and the Republican platform. It's like, it works. It actually works.
So let me ask you this. We're talking with Senator Scott Flippo. I believe it works, too. And just talking generally in Arkansas, I think that it's a popular platform. People are voting for it. But I have this little theory that, and I think you could see it most recently with George Bush, okay? George Bush did a few things like, he cut taxes, okay? But in terms of, like, conservative philosophy, he was all over the place.
Sure.
He grew government more than any president before him until Barack Obama got in there.
Yep.
And so we had these failings. We had, you had the stock market collapse or the housing bubble. He said things like, well, I had to violate free market principles to save the free market, which makes no sense. But the media was basically like, we've tried the conservative way, and look what it's gotten us. We've tried it George Bush's way, and they labeled that as ideological conservatism when it really wasn't based on principles. And it's one of the reasons Barack Obama had such an easy time getting into the White House. And so when we have policies in Arkansas from Republicans that are not really based on principle but more based on, okay, how much can we get done, or there's just certain things that government's supposed to do, phrase buzzwords like that. I really do fear that when we get the results of liberalism or progressivism out of Republicans, the media in Arkansas says, let's use this to put Democrats back in power and say we tried it the ideological conservative way, when in fact it hasn't been tried at all. That's a fear of mine.
And I think that's a legitimate fear, Paul. And so, here in Arkansas, Republicans have not been in control for that long. When Asa was elected governor in 2014, before that we had, Beebe, and for the majority of his tenure, you had a Democratic legislature in the House and the Senate, and, we had a Democratic-controlled legislature since Reconstruction. So Republicans are, sitting here, and we're new into control. Now, the problem is that when you run, especially in a primary, and you're talking to, your conservative wing of the party, and you say certain things like, we're going to repeal Obamacare, we're going to do this, or we're going to do that, and then you get there and nothing happens. Well, people have expectations, and they expect results.
Yeah.
And so I think that as I look at our party currently, Paul, there's tough decisions that have to be made, some that you wouldn't like, that I wouldn't like, that I'm sure the majority of your listening audience wouldn't like. But what I think is you can't look at things in the terms of, politics and how you can spin something or how you can message something, but we give people sometimes the cold hard truth. People say they want the truth, and, it's been my experience is they like the truth until you hit them with it, and then sometimes they don't like it so much.
That's true.
Well, if you look at people's lack of trust and faith and confidence in their government, because people feel like, people like myself that are running for office and serve in office, we're just there to stay there. And, when we're looking at policy and, for Medicaid expansion I really felt like a lot of the opposition was, well, we can't roll 300,000 plus people off. Look how political, that would be political suicide. And I was like, well, if it costs me a re-election, then that's going to be the way that it is, because I fundamentally believe this is the wrong direction, bar none. But it was a good example of, looking at things through a political prism. So we might lose today, but the things that we're fighting for, not just for me and my life or for the people that are here today, it's for the people coming after us. And I think it's important that we have that kind of that long-term view and be willing to make the difficult decisions today, because serving in office is a lot like, it's like owning a small business. And after the end of the first quarter, your revenues are down 30%. Now you've kind of trimmed all the fat you possibly can, and now you've got to lay some people off. But in 2 years, you're going to ask those same people that you had to lay off to vote for you again to own the business for another 2 years. Was it a necessary decision to lay them off? Yeah, if you're looking out for the overall business and the viability of that business, it was. If you're the person that got laid off and can't pay your mortgage, no, it wasn't a necessary decision. And I think there's some of the gridlock that you lead to is, I think there's a lot of conversations and things that need to be getting done that are going to be politically difficult because people have not been conditioned to hear that.
I want to continue this conversation when we come back. We're up against a hard break. We're talking with Senator Scott Flippo, broadcasting live from the studios of KJMT Mountain Talk 97. We'll be back in just a moment.
Welcome those of you watching at paulharrell.com, Facebook Live, or our YouTube page, The Paul Harrell Program. This is the set where we shoot our Wednesday weekly videos for our Patreon subscribers. And if you want to get on board and get extra Paul Harrell Program content because you want to partner with us, you believe the show has value, you want to help us keep the show on the air, you want to help us grow the show, you want to help us make videos like this one even better, then you need to seriously think about subscribing to Patreon. It's patreon.com/thephp. That's patreon.com/thephp. Get extra content today, partner with us, and help build the Liberty Machine. We're asking you to partner with us for as little as $5 a month. Now, you can go up from there. You can go to $10 a month and get extra features, or $25 a month and become a Conduit Media Insider. But for $5 a month, you can really help us out. You can get extra content. You can see what we talk about on sets like this, and I promise you, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. Back in a moment.
Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
Tell you when having seen the money change hands, but the story is that this was a substantial donation to the governor's campaign fund through this this national organization. There's no really other reason because, again, all the general dentists in this state are working for patients' rights. They want to make sure that the patients are treated correctly. When you have a corporate entity, the patient's rights don't come first. It's the corporate bottom line that comes first. And so we just feel as a group, and I can't speak for the Arkansas State Dental Association or the state board, but I can speak for the dentist in this area. We all feel like that's not the way we want to treat our patients.
And that was actually my next question. Any potential political ramifications? I mean, is it just the dentists in Northeast Arkansas that are upset, or is this like the entire? That's a pretty big voting block, and the governor's, probably going to have a primary opponent in the Republican primary.
Well, that's a great point that you make. We're left without representation in Northeast. The next 5 years at least, we're not going to have a representative on the state board. This is a huge problem for us in the Northeast District. And now the other districts are going, whoa, well, what's going to happen when the next district is elected? Are we going to have a say in that? Well, obviously they're not. So there's 5 positions because there's 5 districts. So, it's a possibility that as long as Governor Hutchinson's making the selections that there won't be any representation from the different districts. So, yeah, this is a real problem, but we're going to help solve this problem because we're going to get into politics. We are a small group in Northeast. We're 180 dentists, and across the state it's about 1,200, but we see a lot of patients. And, we are not happy with what's going on.
Yeah.
And we were going to let our patients know that this governor has not treated the State Board of Dental Examiners appropriately.
All right. Well, I appreciate I don't know if this is a first step or not, but I appreciate you coming on the program and being willing to talk about it, because talking about it is what gets people engaged to hopefully make different choices in the future. So, Doctor,
thank you very much.
Dr. Jim Phillips, I appreciate it, sir. That's great. It's great to meet you. Past president of the Arkansas State Board of Dental Examiners. Folks, we got to take a break. We got the rest of the show for you. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a moment.
Merry Christmas.
All right, folks, welcome to the program. We're here with Senator Scott Flippo is with us from Senate District 17, broadcasting live from KJMT, the studios of Mountain Talk 97, one of our affiliates here, and we're so grateful to have him. Merry Christmas to everybody out there. So, Scott, thanks again for sticking with us.
You bet. My pleasure.
So you said something before we went to break that I found very interesting when it comes to just repealing entitlements. And generally speaking, you could say, or managing them better or whatever, if it means people are going to lose whatever the government's giving them for free, that it's a hard decision to make. We all know that. But,
Sure.
But you said, look, because it's the right thing to do, I'm willing to vote the way I know my constituents sent me here to do. And if that means later down the road I lose power because of the vote, so be it. I did what I thought was right. I want to explore that concept a little bit because to me that's fascinating, and it seems just generally there are less people with that attitude in political power.
Sure, and let me preface that, Paul, with to think that I didn't say in the context to make me look like the knight in shining armor, and everybody else look lesser there. So
it is
good
what
people,
it is.
and there's good people that I serve with in Little Rock that I have disagreements with, but I think that they are just phenomenal all-around good people, good Republicans. There's some good Democrats down there. 2 Democrats got the Family Council Award this year, Legislator of the Year awards, and so they are very socially conservative. And so, there's good people down there. But the point that I make is that, a lot of times I heard it said that you can't have good policy without good politics. And I understand that, and there may be some truth there. The problem that I see there is that I think that while that might be good in the short-term line of thinking, for the long term, and looking about, are we going to have more government intervention, more government control, more government regulation, and what kind of a state and what kind of a country are your children and grandchildren and those that haven't even been born yet going to inherit? So it's not just where we are today, it's where we're going to be in 10, 15, 20 years down the road. And my life is very good outside of politics. And so if the worst thing that was to happen to me in my life was to lose a race for office, then I would consider myself to be very fortunate and very blessed. I don't think that people send myself nor any other elected official to serve in Little Rock or to D.C. For the sole purpose of so they can stay there for however length of time. Is they send them down there to make the difficult decisions and to do what's in the best interest. And if you run as a Republican or conservative, they're going to expect you to govern and legislate in that same fashion. And now if you run to the left of Bernie Sanders, naturally they're going to expect you to work to expand government. So the important thing is that your actions match your rhetoric when you're campaigning once you get to the Capitol. And, in looking at that, inevitably, there's going to be some difficult decisions. When I voted against appropriations for Arkansas Works, the private option, I know people that received insurance through that, and some are really good people, hard workers. They're not the lazy degenerates just sitting around walking into walls expecting everybody else to do the heavy lifting. There was no way to go through there with a scalpel and carve it out and say these are the ones that are just abusing it, and these are the ones that I wouldn't mind helping. And most of your listeners wouldn't mind helping them out of your own pocket. And I knew that there's going to be some collateral fallout that I'm not going to feel inherently comfortable or great about. And when I voted against the appropriations for that, I never went to bed at night with a smile on my face. I didn't feel great about it. I felt it was necessary.
Yeah, and we shouldn't be in this situation in the first place as
Absolutely not. And I'm frustrated that we are, but that is just a single issue that you could apply to any other number of issues in government.
So bringing it back to the idea of voting away knowing that it's the politics of it aren't great. I mean, let's go back to when in D.C., Obamacare was passed by the Democrats and Obama. What was their mentality?
Well, you know what? The Democrats were willing to lose control of the Senate and the House in order to get Obamacare passed. And that's exactly what happened in the next election cycle. And so Obama had 2 years that happened year 2 of his first term. So, he ended up having another 6 years in office with a Republican Congress and Senate. But they were so convicted in their beliefs, and Democrats have been trying to implement socialized health care for eons, and they were finally in the position to be able to do it. So they had the House, the Senate, and the White House, and they seized the opportunity. And now it cost them. And it cost a lot of it cost a lot of senators and a lot of congressmen their seats in office.
Let's take Arkansas. Blanche Lincoln, she lost because of her vote for Obamacare.
Absolutely.
Mark Pryor lost because of his a vote for Obamacare. And then, when after Blanche Lincoln.
And, I have to think that they knew when they cast that vote that there was a very good chance that that might be the end of their political careers, but they chose to go ahead and do it. So fast forward 6 years down the road when we have a Republican president, Republican Senate, and Republican Congress, and we're in a position that some of those decisions might have some potential backlash, political backlash to it. Well, do you believe it's the right thing to do, or do you not believe it's the right thing to do? And I think that's really what we got to look at. I don't think that it's viable to think that you can rein in government, reduce government, lower taxes, and there'll be no pain for anybody. I don't see how that's possible. And I think that it's important at our party that if we're going to talk about things that sometimes there's going to be some pain. If you got to look at tighten things up at the federal level, that might be money that flows to all the states for various programs and various grants. Mm-hmm. And if you're looking to tighten that up, there's going to be an impact.
So it has to be explained. We're talking with Senator Scott Flippo, and it's common sense. The whole word definition of the word dependency, if you're taking what somebody's dependent on away, obviously there's going to be a gap there for that individual person. So bringing it kind of down to Arkansas's level in our economy, during the break we were talking about, certain states with different economic philosophies, but they have a lot more people. I mean, we have a third of our population that's on some form of Medicaid.
Correct.
So you have a third of our population that, for the most part, is not paying income taxes.
Income taxes.
So what do we do to get Arkansas to be competitive with its neighbors when we are kind of a welfare state right now?
Well, I think the first thing is you got to have an honest conversation. And you got to go out there and tell people, so, here are the statistics. Here's the breakdown. Here's the number of Arkansans that are working. I read something the other day. And I hate to say it on air because I might be a little wrong. I want to say it was like 700,000 people in Arkansas that are working or making $21,000 or less. And, there's an issue. Why is that? And, there's a number of factors. There's a lot of jobs out there, a lot of people looking for jobs. It's the willingness to work, the ability to show up, not just on time, but show up early, stay late, go above and beyond. Mm-hmm. That's starting to slip away, in the workforce right now. And government and billions of dollars flowing in from the federal government going to be the economic driver of our state? Mm-hmm. Or are Arkansans going to be the economic driver of our state?
Yeah.
I believe in Arkansas, and I believe in Arkansans. And I'm not advocating that we turn away all the federal money. What I'm advocating is that we have a straightforward and honest conversation about,
what is best?
What is best? What are we looking at short term? What are we looking at long term? And do our short term actions align with our long term goals? So if we're trying to become more independent, more self-sustaining, grow our economy, we need to be having these conversations. And, the hard thing is that a lot of our best and our brightest are leaving the state.
Yeah, they are.
And that's a major problem that we face here in Arkansas is, a lot of folks that are going on and getting their 4-year degrees, a good portion of those folks are leaving Arkansas.
Better opportunity.
We need those people. We need those people here.
And so we need to have an honest discussion about that from our leaders, and you're one of them. But, instead of trying to just put a bunch of lipstick or maybe, some stuff that's not real, like a facade, maybe we need to, it'd be nice to say, we do have problems. We have people leaving the state and they need to stay here.
Sure. You know what? And Paul, I know that you and the governor have some disagreements, and
really?
I've had a couple of them myself. But I'm going to throw him a little bit of cover here and say that one of the things that I do really agree with the governor on, and I really respect about him, is his push for computer coding classes in our public schools, and realizing that the jobs of tomorrow are going to be technology based, and coding is going to be a large part of that. And so we're not going to see the result, any benefits of that.
That is
this year or next year. That is a long-term, vision there. And what Asa said when he came back from California, from a trip a year or two ago, was he went to Silicon Valley and he said, "Well, I know that Google or Facebook are not looking to open up a branch in Arkansas. What they're trying to do is they're trying to take our best and our brightest and move them out to California."
Yeah.
And, so looking and, developing those skills in that talent pool here in Arkansas is a long-term approach, and I agree with that. The hard thing is, and as I've gone when the governor's been in my district, is if you take a 14-year-old in Marion County that's never even been to Little Rock, let alone left the state, it's hard for them to visualize and see themselves doing some of these big things. And, showing these young people that they have all the potential and all the skills, and it aggravates me when I see them coming from backgrounds and homes where they don't have that support system. They don't have a mom and dad telling them, where I am is not where you're going to be. We expect you to do more, to do better.
I was hearing about, speaking of technology around here, I was hearing about something called the Bomb Squad, which is like a robotics team.
It's a robotics team.
Here in this area that's really, really accomplished.
Very accomplished, and they won a lot of tournaments. Now, this is a program. It's U.S. first, and what's his name? He guy that started the Baxter Lab and invented the Segway scooter. I'm just drawing a blank right now. But Dean Kamen, and he actually came. It started in 1997, my junior year in high school. And he actually came to our high school here in Mountain Home and spoke. First time I've ever, heard a billionaire speak in person. Mm-hmm. But it's taken all these young kids and teaching them so many different skill sets and, and working and collaboration and troubleshooting. And, it's all these different skills that they're learning that they're going to be able to apply in so many different facets of their lives. And I was just telling somebody outside the studio, the economic driver of this state, I'm as avid a Razorback fan as anybody. But it ain't going to be football. Not going to be football. Will not be the economic driver. Well, it might be for the head coach and a few well-placed assistants.
But that's an example of an unpopular thing to say.
Absolutely. But I say that to say that we got to get excited about technology. We got to get excited about engineering, and we need to be supporting these kids and looking that there might be some investments that we make today that aren't going to pay off for 5, 10, 15 years. Mm-hmm. But you need to be forward-thinking like that, and that was one of my major frustrations with government. Is that I felt like, when they approached decisions, they looked at, just getting through today or the next election cycle.
Yeah.
But very little of, where's this going to be in 10, 15, 20 years.
And so we really get into the definition of what is public service, and a lot of times it's just self-preservation, and it gets presented as public service. There was a story about a South Carolina company that has 1,000 jobs right now. And but they can't fill them because they just don't have the skilled workforce required to work at this. It's a factory, type. And my fear is maybe Arkansas has a skilled labor shortage as well. And what are we going to do about it?
We absolutely do. Well, here's the thing: necessity is the mother of all invention. When you start scaling back some of these social welfare programs for people that don't really need them, they're just choosing to take advantage of them because they're available.
Yeah.
And, to me is like, we talk about socialized health care. Well, if you smoke 2 packs a day, and you've got that right to do it, and you're entitled for me to pay for your health care? Well, you got the right to smoke, but you have also the responsibility to live with the consequences of your actions.
Yeah.
Now, if you choose to go around and just walk in circles and bump your head in the wall and with your head in the clouds, and I don't feel responsible for paying for your mortgage, for paying for your food, for paying for your health care. Now, there's people out there in true need through no fault of their own. Some of my closest friends here in Mountain Home have a little girl with cerebral palsy. I have no problem, working and helping to take care of people like that in true need.
Yeah.
It's the people that are out there, and they are where they are by virtue of their own decision-making process. And when you start pulling the safety net away from some of these people, it's going to be sink or swim. And what you're going to find, most people are going to swim.
Yeah,
but they're not going to unless they have to.
Yeah. It is the necessity, the natural incentive of I'm going to provide for myself because I have to provide.
I have to provide to myself. Paul, can you imagine what our forefathers and our ancestors would have done back in the back in the 1800s? And you're saying, well, boy, I'd like to expand westward, but golly, we have all these river, and we got this old rickety wagon and 2 oxen, and how we get. They didn't let that hold them back.
Yeah.
They went and they overcame great challenges and great obstacles. And that's the spirit of this country. That's what it's all about. Entrepreneur, an entrepreneurial attitude, the can-do attitude, overcoming obstacles, and not looking to say everything needs to be fair and equal and everything has to be on the same level, which is what the Democrats are advocating for. We all got to be on the same, same level, same platform. If that was the case, we'd all throw a football like Tom Brady, be married to Giselle, and have $100 million in our bank accounts. You know what? Life ain't fair.
So you said you at Mountain Home High School, you were you got to hear your first billionaire speak ever in person.
You bet.
So was your second when Donald Trump came to Hot Springs?
I didn't get to make that trip, and I regret that. And I regret that now. So I was not there at the at that meeting when he came and spoke, and certainly regretting that now. I forget what I had that weekend, but I made a decision not to go.
Well, I was there.
I'm regretting that.
You know what's funny is I was there, and I share some guilt in this too because no one thought he would ever be president. No one thought he would ever get through the primary the way he did. It just, you didn't with, if you would have said, will he be president versus Hillary Clinton, I don't know. A lot of people thought that wouldn't happen either, and I was skeptical of that too. But it was interesting. A lot of politicos in Arkansas were there, and they were, Arkansas Republican Party raised a lot of money because he was there. But I remember the feeling of the room, and it was one of amusement more than taking him seriously as a political candidate. And, he's the president of the United States, and I thank God every day for it.
Me too, Paul. Amen. And I was skeptical to think whether he was going to be able to beat Hillary, knowing how the Clinton machine works, which is not, in transparency and honesty. They'll do what it takes to win. And I kind of wondered, how Donald Trump, somebody that's never run for office or served in office, was going to be able to navigate that. Nobody else could have won that race except for Donald Trump. I supported Ted Cruz.
I think you're
in the primaries.
Yep, me too.
And a great guy, a great senator, a strong conservative, knows the Constitution inside and out, and could have towed up with Hillary in any debate. But I don't think he would have won that race.
Yeah. Wisconsin? No, he doesn't win Wisconsin.
Pennsylvania?
No, not
the
a
Rust
chance.
Belt? No. And so, it took Donald Trump. And, what I like about Trump is I don't agree with everything he says or how he says it. But you know what I do like about him? Is he puts it out there. I like the fact that he's calling out North Korea on their bluffs. Because what are we going to do? Sit here and have another 50 years of what we had?
Yeah.
How's that beneficial?
And, I know we don't like to, assume worse motives on people in office, but I think one of the reasons they can't stand Trump so much is because he is just who he is naturally. And I think some of those politicians are just like him, but behind closed doors.
Sure.
And I think he just kind of exposes that the system is not, it is what he says it is and not what other people try to fake it.
Absolutely. And, Donald Trump, and I firmly believe this, I think, Trump ran to serve his country. And, the guy's already a billionaire, lives a great lifestyle, probably a better lifestyle than what the president would live.
Yeah.
And so he didn't subject himself to all this just so he could, grow his business. And so I think all that's absurd when I hear that on CNN or I hear that from liberals. It's like, that he's doing all this is self-serving. I don't believe that at all. I do believe that Donald Trump did this because he wants great things for this country and the people in this country. And I loved his press conference today, looking at all the regulations. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Where he has, this is where they were in 1960, and this is where they are today. Staggering.
We're running out of time here, but I can't let you go. We've been doing these segments about what Christmas means to you with all these Arkansas politicos, and we're going to put it together with a montage. So real quick before we go, doesn't have to take long, but Senator Scott Flippo, what does Christmas mean to you?
Christmas is celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and I think the best way that we can honor that and celebrate that is to help our fellow neighbors. And that in a nutshell, Paul, is exactly what Christmas is to me, is it's taking time outside of my capacity as senator and what are my responsibilities as a citizen, as a human, and a neighbor to the people around me that have needs, and what can I be doing to help them?
That's awesome. Merry Christmas,
Merry
Scott
Christmas
Flippo.
to you and your listeners.
All right, folks, we got to take a break. Broadcasting from KJMT, Mountain Talk 97 in studio here in Mountain Home. It's been great. Back in just a moment to wrap things up.
Merry Christmas from the Paul Harrell Program and Conduit Media. Good morning. Good morning. Congratulations, you have made it to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, where we strive to offer politicians the very best in ambiguously specific language, the purpose of which is to allow our politician bosses to grow government and keep their constituents in the dark. This yields two beneficial outcomes. First, the government-growing politicians stay in office, and second, we at the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language get to remain in the shadows and get to keep our jobs. Now, it's time for technocrat training drills. Johnny?
Yes?
A politician wants to use the healthcare system to punish those who have and redistribute their wealth. What is the appropriate language to use in this situation to make an unpopular idea acceptable to the public?
I would emphasize that these ideas would make their healthcare more affordable and make sure the public understands if they already have adequate healthcare, nothing will change for them.
Very good, Johnny. Much progress since last time. Next up, let's have Susie. Susie, Your politician has been caught in, dare I say it, a lie.
What kind of a lie?
It doesn't really matter, but in the spirit of the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language, I will give you a good hypothetical scenario. Dozens of politicians have been thrown out of office for supporting a socialist health care program. So the remaining politicians get together and they pass a bill to, quote, end the program, end quote. But they really want to keep it. What should they do, Susie?
May I ask a question for more information?
Certainly.
Has the word lie been used by the political opposition?
Yes.
I know. They should change the name of the program. Maybe use the word works to make the sheeple think it's for working folk. Then they should go on the attack and get the public distracted. I would advise the politician to publicly question why our political dialogue has become so uncivilized and tell them to claim using the word lie, no matter how accurate, is a personal attack on his or her character. And if they admit to any wrongdoing at all, they must replace the word lie with words like misspoke, misstatement, misrepresent, or mislead.
Amazing! Excellent work, Susie. I feel like the student has really become the teacher. You will make a terrific addition to the Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language.
All hands on deck. This is a Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language emergency. Several politicians are scrambling after being exposed by some talk radio host. Let's move it, people. They need our help.
The Bureau of Carefully Crafted Language. You vote 'em in, and we keep 'em in. PHP Parody.
All right, folks, that about wraps things up here on the program today. Thank you so much for being with us. We have had so much fun here today. I want to thank KJMT and Mountain Talk 97 here at the studio for having me and letting me intrude on their day today and their routine. It's been great. I'll be back in studio tomorrow for Johnny Cash Friday, and hopefully we'll get a few more What Does Christmas Mean to You and some legislators and Arkansas politicos. Johnny Cash Fridays tomorrow. Send me what you want to hear. 870-275-9799. Arkansas, be safe.